most of you would have heard by now that Vasyl Lomachenko's manager, Igor Klimas, has revealed that Lomachenko was going into the Lopez fight with an injury, and he subsequently had surgery on this injured shoulder. Now, he says in this interview with ESPN that upon arrival in the United States, Lomachenko complained of pain in his shoulder, but when they took him for an MRI, it did not reveal any significant injury. So they took him to a doctor to examine him, and the doctor gave him a couple of shots, I guess pain-killing shots in his shoulder, and told him not to train for at least a week. So Klimas is saying that Lomachenko lost a week of his training camp because of this shoulder niggle. I'm going to call it a niggle because it isn't a major injury. I've read more extensively on what the surgery was, etc. And it isn't some major serious shoulder injury. It is a bit of a niggle. And of course, that can cause pain and discomfort. But with the injections he was getting, which were fully declared to the Nevada State Athletic Commission and all the relevant parties, so there's no impropriety going on. With those injections, he should have been able to train and fight as normal. Now, I'm not saying he was 100% and couldn't have been in any better position physically. But as Teofimo Lopez has pointed out, it's quite rare, and many boxers point this out, it's quite rare for a fighter to go into a fight without any niggles whatsoever. Most fighters have got niggles and issues. I mean, I was watching a Mike Tyson interview just the other day. I think it was on his podcast. And he said that this neck twitch, which he used to have when he was in his prime in the 1980s, was as a result of him doing his neck rolls. Some of you may know that Mike Tyson used to do these exercises where he would almost go into a crab position, but without using his arms. So just using his feet and using his head to rest his body weight on. It's difficult to describe it. If you just go and look at Mike Tyson neck rolls on YouTube, you'll be able to see. And doing these neck rolls partially contributed to him injuring his neck. And he also said when he got hit in the Bone Crusher Smith fight, that also exacerbated the problem. And from there on in, Mike Tyson, for many of his fights, you'd often see him twitching his neck, especially at the start of rounds. And that was because his neck was hurting him. So even a prime Mike Tyson was going into fights with niggles and injuries, but yet he was still performing. So Teofimo Lopez has revealed that he was injured too going into the Lomachenko fight. Again, no major injury, but he didn't specifically say what the injury is, but he had niggles and issues going into the fight as well. And he doesn't appreciate Team Lomachenko, because it wasn't Lomachenko himself, it was his manager Klimas. He doesn't appreciate them coming up with this injury excuse, because if he was that badly injured, as people generally say in these situations, he should have pulled out of the fight. And, you know, I have to concur with that, to be honest with you. Injuries, of course, nobody's going to say that an injury is not going to make a difference to your performance, depending on how severe the injury is. But from what I've read of Lomachenko's injury, it doesn't appear to be particularly major. And he was throwing both hands during the fight. Like, if it was such a terrible injury, surely he wouldn't have been throwing the shots he was throwing even late in the fight, right? Because early in the fight, he appeared, at least to me and many other people, to be intimidated by Lopez's power and sharpness. But when Lopez started slowing down, Lomachenko started letting his hands go, and he was throwing both hands. So, yeah. Obviously, Team Lomachenko are angling for a rematch. They're saying if Lopez is so tough, you know, let's run it back and have the rematch. But there was no rematch, of course, no rematch clause in the contract. So that seems unlikely at the moment, particularly given the fact that Lopez has got so many other big fights potentially out there on the horizon. I mean, Lopez versus Ryan Garcia, if Garcia gets past Luke Campbell, is a huge fight in the United States. That is a huge fight. There's also Devin Haney, another very big fight. Not as big as the Ryan Garcia fight, because I think I'm pretty sure Garcia has got more fans in the United States than Devin Haney at the moment. But either way, both are real big fights. Both are fights that will probably be on pay-per-view, and all of us would love to see those. They're young guys as well, unlike Lomachenko, who's still relatively young, but he's not as young as Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, certainly. So it's unlikely that Lomachenko's going to get a rematch anytime soon. And this is why managers and promoters will put rematch clauses in contracts. Because if their guy gets beat, they want to be able to run it back and see if he can, get revenge and keep the gravy train rolling. So let's see what happens here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I personally don't buy this idea that the injury had any significant impact on the result of the fight, because it seems like a pretty minor injury to me. And Lopez was injured himself. But look, I'm not in Lomachenko's shoes, so I can't tell you for certain. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is this just sour grapes by Team Lomachenko? Is this a repeat of Manny Pacquiao and what he said after the Mayweather fight, where he came out and said, "Oh, I'm injured," and then there was all the swimming in the sea with salt water, and now his shoulder's healed, and all this kind of stuff? Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. All right.